Hi guys, it's Laura. Thanks for watching and welcome back to my channel. This is the final part of my 3-part tutorial for a fairy house lantern made of mason jar and air drying modeling clay, and today I will show you how I painted the fairy house. Now, it's not absolutely necessary because I personally find that the fairy houses look also cute only in white or terracotta. So it's of course up to you. So it can be a very easy process. You finish up your fairy house, you let it dry, and then you can simply spray it or paint it with a protecting varnish and you would be done. But if you're interested in painting because it's a present for someone who enjoys bright colors, or if it's simply something you want to have, then please keep watching. For the painting of our fairy house lantern, I have here regular acrylic colors, which are the same colors you would use for painting on paper or on a canvas. So I have here several shades and a palette that I'm going to use in order to mix these shades up. And I have here a few brushes. The brushes are synthetic hair brushes and I picked them in different shapes and sizes so that I would be able to paint both the larger sections and also the details. So for the base, I want to have a very pale beige, so I'm gonna mix white with just a little bit of probably this brown shade, and maybe I'll add a little bit of yellow, I'll see. So this is something where you have to kind of play and always add more pigment. So I'm just gonna put here a little bit of the white. Then I'll take a little bit of this brown shade. So I'm gonna peel the thing off. Just a very small amount. And I'm gonna stir it up probably with this brush. And then I'll see what the shade will look like. And I can already tell that needs a little bit more of the brown. So again, I'm just gonna be adding very small amounts and I will be mixing it in until I achieve the shade that I want to have. That's pretty much what I had in mind, so this is fine. Then I have here this like reddish brown shade, or like warmer brown shade. That's something that I want to have as a base around the stones. But I will probably also mix in a little bit of the other brown shade that I had used here in the beige and mix them together. And for that I will take a different brush. So let's say I'm just gonna take this one and mix it together, and then we can start. So as a first step, I took a wider flat brush and I simply painted the entire surface of the house in the pale beige. I left out the window frames, although at some spots you can see there's a little bit of the beige color, but that's all right, we're gonna paint over it later. I went also over the vines for now because I'm gonna use a different color later for it, and it doesn't matter because this color is a pretty light shade, so any other color will easily cover it. And now I'm basically just smoothing the surface, making sure that all spots are covered except for the window frames and for the door. And then I'm gonna grab the brown color and I'm gonna take a flat brush that is smaller and I'm gonna go between the stones like so, because I want to have a little bit more structure. And then I will go again over with the flat brush with the pale beige paint, but as you can see it kind of blends in the brown and it makes the stones stand out a little bit. So I'm going to continue doing that everywhere where I have the stones. And wherever I feel there is too much of the warmer brown, I can always add over it a little bit more of the pale beige color to lighten it a little bit up. I did the same also with the stones that are higher up, so that they stand out again a little bit more. And now that's done. So here's what the stones look like. So you can tell they have a little bit more structure, they stand out a little bit more from the main surface. And now I will start painting the window frames. So for that I mixed the two brown colors, so the neutral color and the warmer color, and I will carefully paint just the frames. So I took a pointed brush that's kind of like medium white, and I'm gonna go roughly over the window frame, and when I will be close to the edges, for that I will take the same small flat brush that I have used for the edges of the stones, because now I want to make sure that I will work very clean so that I do not stain the surface, the main surface of the house. For certain angles, I find it very helpful to simply put your hand inside of the glass and lifting it and turning it so that you can reach all the angles where it's normally really hard to come in when the glass would be just standing on your table. So our stones are painted, our door is painted, and all the window frames. The next thing I'm gonna paint are the vines. So now I started painting the vines. So I mixed two shades of green. One of the greens was a little bit too bluish and the other green was a little bit too pale. So I figured I'm gonna mix them. And I also want to go over a little bit with brown later, but first I start just with green. So I'm gonna paint all the twigs and also all the leaves. Now I dipped one of the brushes into a warm yellow shade, and I'm just gonna go over like this through the centers of the leaves, and I'm gonna blend the yellow in. And again, that gives the leaves a little bit more structure and it makes them look a little bit more interesting. So I'm gonna turn it to here. So I'll start in the center like so and blend it out towards the edges just ever so slightly, just to give it a little bit more color and, as I said, a little bit more dimension. So now I'm going with the yellow also very lightly over the branches, basically just kind of copying the center and blending the yellow lightly in. And now I will dip the brush into brown and I will go over the bottom in brown, and then I'm just gonna blend it out, because when you have vines they usually have a really thick branches on the bottom and they look more like wood, and the higher they go the greener they are. So that's basically what I'm trying to do here. Now I will clean up wherever I went a little bit too far with the green. So for example like here, I'm just gonna go over with the beige again and blend it nicely in. And the last thing I want to paint are the doorknobs, so I will go over in this yellow and I will see how well it will cover the brown. and if necessary I will grab a little bit lighter yellow shade. So first I'm just gonna paint the round balls. I think the coverage is sufficient and I might go only later over it again, and now I'm also gonna paint the knockers. And that is it for the main section of the house. So here's what it looks like. Now I will start painting the roof, but first I will paint the inside. So I'm just gonna grab this green shade and I will paint the cardboard and also the bottom of the leaves. So now the bottom of our roof is painted. I'm gonna go over again if I find anywhere spots that are not really well covered. And then we can actually already put the roof on and start painting it from the outside. And it is important that you start painting it from the inside, because now we still can screw the roof on the glass. And if we started with the outside, we would have to wait until the top layers would be dry. So this definitely saves time. So I'm gonna carefully screw it in place, but since we just painted the bottom, we have to be careful so that we do not touch anything from the other section of the house. And I just noticed that there's a little spot that I need to correct. Right. And now we have to decide what colors we want. So I think I want to make this very colorful. So I will probably make the roof as kind of an ombre, starting from reddish orange, blending into yellow. So I cleaned up my palette and put into a few of the sections red, orange, and 2 shades of yellow, and I will start painting from the top. So I will just paint about that much, about like half of the top leaves with the red shade. And I will be kind of dragging the color down, almost as though I would be blending it out. Now I will take the orange and I will paint the rest of the leaves orange, and I will kind of dragging it up so that the transition between the red and the orange will end up being softer. Now I will also paint the edges of the leaves, and I will paint them also from the bottom. Now I will mix yellow into the orange, actually quite a lot, and I will paint the bottom. And whenever I start painting new leaf, I will take a little bit of the yellow and blend it into the tips of the leaves on the top, like so. The main work is done on the roof, so now I'm just gonna go and turn it, and I will still use the orange shade and basically go over it and make sure that everywhere where I see there is still a little bit of white peeking through, that I will paint it. And now I will grab just yellow, and same way I did for the leaves on the vines, I will go through the center with the yellow and blend it in here on both the orangey leaves and the red leaves. But when I'm gonna be painting on the red leaves, I'm just gonna go only like halfway up, and then I will stop because I want the top to be red. So, and now it's nicely blended in. The leaves on the roof have again a little bit more dimension and don't look like you just painted over it with one single color. And it kind of reminds me of either flower petals or fall leaves. I went back and added 2 more layers of the yellow paint on the door knockers because as they dried, they looked more brown than yellow and I did not like the color. And I really wanted them to be easily distinguishable from the background, from the door. And I'm gonna add here 1 more layer. And that is it. We just finished painting our fairy house and now it needs to dry. So I'm probably gonna let it dry tomorrow just to be sure that all layers of the acrylic paint will be completely dry. Now, while our painted fairy house lantern is drying, I will show you how to clean your fairy house and how to finish up your work. So I have here another fairy house lantern that I made of the terracotta colored air drying modeling clay by another brand. Working with this was pretty much the same like working with the Fimo Air. The only difference was that this one has kind of a weird smell, which I don't like that much. So I personally do prefer the Fimo Air. So I made here a little door with a doorknob and a door knocker on one side. Then again, we have here these little stones, a couple of windows with frames and vines. And I have decided I'm not gonna be painting this one because I actually like the terracotta look. So I'm gonna leave it like that. So what I did was I took a cloth and I dipped it into a window cleaner and I cleaned the glass from the inside, and then I cleaned the windows from the outside like so with cotton swabs dipped into the window cleaner, and that did the trick. And then as a last step you have to decide whether you want to have a glossy finish or a matte finish. So you can use then any kind of varnish that has the finish that you want. That works also for an air drying modeling clay. So for example, Fimo has their own varnishes. So this one is the glossy one. They also have a matte one. And when you unscrew this little bottle, it has already even a brush. So you would simply brush it on and let it dry. If you cannot get anything like that in your area, but you can find any kind of store that sells also acrylic paint and stuff like that, they usually have some kind of varnish that you can spray on your work. So I have here this varnish that is glossy, and it is also suitable for styrofoam and pretty much for any surfaces, it says, and also for photographic work. So if you would have a spray version, you would simply spray your work with it, but since we have windows, you would have to clean the windows with the cotton swabs again, but then you would be done. And that is it. That's how I made the painted fairy house lantern. I personally prefer the plain white and plain terracotta version, but there's nothing wrong with the painted version. Plus, I made this specifically for someone as a Christmas present of whom I know that they enjoy colors, so there is no right and wrong. We all have different preferences, we all like different things, and if we would all like the same things, life would be super boring. So anyway, if you have any further questions, feel free to write them down below in the comments. As always, I will try to get back to you as soon as possible and to answer to the best of my ability. I linked down below the first 2 parts of the tutorial if you missed them or if you're new on my channel. In that case, thank you for stopping by and welcome. And if you are interested in more upcycling videos, I linked down below a playlist that I think you might enjoy. So thank you all so much for watching. I love you guys so much and see you soon with my next project. Bye!